I'd like to take a quick moment and talk about the difference between the blues mind and the jazz mind. How many times have you heard someone complaining about pop music saying, "Oh man, it only has 4 chords"? But here's the thing. Most blues music only has 3 chords. Another popular song, Tennessee Whiskey, which has the same chord changes as the song I'd Rather Go Blind, only has 2 chords. Now, many people who don't know much about the blues actually criticize it, saying that it's really just a pentatonic language. But in truth, if a person has limited options, it can inspire them to be much more creative. If a person has a good knowledge of the blues, they'd know that you can make a very impactful statement using only 3 or 4 notes. If you hear a person complain saying, "Oh, it's only 3 chords in this song," they're probably going to sound like they're bored when they play it. They're actually displaying that they have a very limited view of what's possible. Many great musicians have successful careers spanning decades and decades, mainly playing on 2 or 3 chord songs. Now, say if someone calls a song and it's a blues, instead of me thinking, "Oh, it's such a limited view," I'm thinking, how am I going to approach this? Am I going to approach this from like a Southern rock type of vibe like Duane Allman? Am I going to approach this like a real regal and beautiful vibe like B.B. King? Maybe I'm going to growl in the horn and have a real hardcore drive and distorted sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan. Or maybe I'm going to have a real technical but still soulful sound like Eric Gales. Now, any jazz musician knows that the basic building blocks of jazz is the 2-5-1 progression. From the very beginning, they're being trained to think, okay, I'm here, how do I get to there? How do I move from a C7 to a F7 and then to a B flat major 6 and then like a G7 flat 9? They're thinking in terms of moving towards something, movement. Now, this as well is very amazing and very necessary when creating music. But it also can make a person think that every single chord change must be represented in order to show that I know what's going on. Jazz musicians are being taught to play rhythm changes in all 12 keys, learn Green Dolphin Street in all 12 keys, play all your licks in all 12 keys. Okay, take a look at this. This is a visual representation of how a blues musician typically approaches the blues. Now, this here is a visual representation of how a jazz musician typically approaches the blues. And if they're using Charlie Parker blues changes, it'll look something more like this. This is still invaluable studies, but then when you take it back to playing on 1 chord, the brain often still wants to be moving somewhere. So I just can't play on the pentatonic scale, as it were. I can't just play 4 or 5 notes. If I'm on the 1, I need to play like the 5 going to the 1, need to superimpose half-step pentatonic shifting in order to make it interesting, to move somewhere. Even if it's on a 1 chord vamp or 2 chord vamp, the brain still wants to move somewhere. They might want to play substitutions. They might want to do some pentatonic shifting, pivoting, and all these things are great, like I said. But I think the foundation of this is being able to play a simple diatonic solo and make it deeply impactful. Playing a very heartfelt melody over 1 chord, only using 3 or 4 or 5 notes in a way that actually moves people, in a way that evokes an emotional impact, in a way that serves the song. Musicians who seem to have both are musicians who started playing in the church. Because for them, at a very young age, they've been seeing grandmas passing out with tambourines, hooting and hollering, getting the Holy Ghost, experiencing spiritual ecstasy over 1 chord vamps, as it were. In summary, I'd like to say that both ideas are important. I think blues musicians could benefit from understanding the jazz mind, and jazz musicians can benefit from understanding the blues mind.